China has again reiterated its willingness to ramp up imports from the United States as the clock ticks down to potential Trump tariffs. China correspondent Tom Mackenzie is in Beijing. Tom, what's the government's message here?
Well, the message is one that we've heard before, which is that China remains prepared to increase its imports of products from the United States, particularly agricultural and energy products, which, of course, were the focus of talks between US Commerce Secretary Ross and the Vice Premier Liu He here in Beijing over the weekend. And what the Chinese officials have been telling us is that those conversations were, in fact, detailed, particularly focused on those two areas, and that China remains willing, as I said, to increase those imports. Of course, the clock is ticking down, as you pointed to June the 15th, because that's when Washington could release this list of Chinese products on which they could then slap that 25% tariff, $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. Credit Agricole analysts, interestingly, think that the odds are still in favour of both Washington and Beijing coming to some agreement before that happens, but they do point out that the clock is ticking down. Of course, China has also said that if tariffs are imposed, then any agreements on increasing imports will effectively be off the table. So that's what we're looking ahead to. We're also looking ahead, of course, this morning to trade data out of China because, of course, that is squarely in focus given the administration's obsession with the US deficit. So we're expecting export numbers to tick up about 11%, import numbers close to the 20% number. A trade surplus, again, we're expecting in the month of May of about $33 billion here in China.
Yeah, and Tom, this comes as the US says it's reached a deal with the Chinese telecom firm ZTE. A bit of a relief for ZTE, but certainly some pressure on this decision from Trump's domestic audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So the details of the deal as laid out by the US Commerce Department are that a fine of about $1.4 billion will be imposed on this Chinese telecoms company, that the management will change at the company. There are going to be some compliance officers inserted into the business as well, and that they'll effectively be in a 10-year probationary period during which the Commerce Department can always reenact that severe penalty of blocking ZTE from accessing US technology. By the way, they did that, of course, in relation to violations that ZTE committed around sanctions of North Korea and Iran. As you point to, this is welcome news for ZTE, of course. It's welcome news for Qualcomm, the US chip provider, which sends a lot of its chips over to ZTE. And also, of course, China is overseeing a potential merger between Qualcomm and NXP Semiconductors. So we should expect that to move fairly quickly. We heard from analysts, by the way, at Jefferies saying they expect now ZTE to start trading again within about 2 to 3 weeks. This is a company that employs about 70,000 people. So a significant benefit for that Chinese company, of course, and it does move the trade conversation further. So it's a positive in that respect. But you also point, Heidi, to the opposition that this agreement has faced in Washington from Congress, particularly Democrats and Republicans both. Both Schumer on one side, the Democrats, of course, and also Marco Rubio saying and pointing out the irony that the Trump administration is accusing Europe and Canada of violating national security and imposing sanctions there, whilst effectively, in his eyes, letting ZTE off the hook.